we've got Felipe Brenner. Felipe is motivated by a need to express himself and to entertain people with those thoughts. This often means that he writes stories and characters that aren't human, characters who power over us and those who sacrifice themselves against the undead. There are so many nice and interesting humans, yet when he thinks about a human, he thinks of a boring 9-to-5 office job, and the black reality of apartment complexes dominating the view around us. He writes fantasy fiction to escape the apartments that block out the clouds. He writes about non-human characters so that they never have to worry about the company profits and menial promotions. One of his greatest blessings and curses is his profound ignorance. You can ask him anything, and unless he's happened to stumble upon it or someone else told him, he wouldn't know about it. The lens he uses, which barely allows him to see the outside world, forces him to look elsewhere to make creative works, and his writing is a product of deep personal reflection. I realized I didn't announce this when I was talking with Hannah, but for every Lit Swan, we have a little question in our questionnaire for when you submit, and it was, what crime would you commit if you could get away with it? And Felipe said, I'd like to trespass into nature reserves just to observe the surroundings for a mere moment. That's incredibly wholesome, and I love that. He'll be reading a fiction piece, and content warning, it involves blood and involuntary convulsions. Felipe Brenner, everyone.
Is this good? Yeah. I'm gonna hope it is. It goes nothing. We are a strange kind, covered head to toe in fur, with horns that can stand tall or curl around our heads, our elongated snouts which veil murderous fangs. We stand taller than humans because humans designed us as such, before we released ourselves from their grasp to form our own communities, our own kingdom. So what happens when one of our own betrays us? What happens when our trusted advisor poisons the king? And what happens when they try to hide themselves? It's simple, really. You let the prince, who now stands before his advisors, judge it himself. After all, what secrets can he hide from someone who can read our minds and souls? So I sit and wait in this grand chamber, praying he doesn't confuse me as the traitor. After all, it's a fickle thing. The air that surrounds me is impossible to breathe, thick with mistrust. You can hear the pain whenever someone tries. Our king is dead, a terrible tragedy which we should still be mourning over. But when the prince calls for the royal advisors, we have no choice. I have no choice. I've been in the presence of his father. He was patient and benevolent. He accepted the facts when he knew he was wrong, and listened to those he trusted. You couldn't wrong him with your words, but you could with your actions. I respected the leniency he extended to his advisors. His son, the one who is now destined to don his father's crown, he too is kind. He has yet to learn, though, the patience his father had. He has a long time to learn, though. But traitor, whoever they are, truly they are gifted with idiocy. Did they not know the magic the prince wielded? Had they never had to endure his presence? They won't be able to hide their thoughts and intentions when he reads us all from top to bottom. The magic the prince emanates washes over us, acting like invisible hands that pick at my brain whilst it grazes his soul, like soft fingers brushing against my face. The muscles across my body tense, struggling to keep his composure against something so unnatural. I force my gaze towards the prince, anything to draw my attention away. The prince stands at the head of the table, leaning forward. He wears an elegant robe of the same colors as the night, yet there is no comfort of the stars, for he is grieving his father. It is not his darkened apparel which reminds us of our potential doom, though. Rather, it is the trait that is unique to him and him alone. The ebony wings which sprout from his back, the wings which whisper to our ears, telling us that nothing dead escapes a Corvid, not even the dead man that still walks among them. Yet the prince can only sense us, reading our thoughts, for his eyes must stay shut, lest he be blinded by the light of the room, of the world itself. But something else stares at us instead, and it stands beside the prince, a bastard, a princess, a warrior. She forces even the tall to look up. someone born and raised in blood. She stares at us with her crimson eyes that look old with experience. She is dressed in her armor as she must, for she has no right to show the world her pain is a bastard, just as we have no right to look upon her pale fur. Nothing soothes our ears, not even the ringing of silence. My mouth is dry, my soul quivers. As such, my body does too. It trembles before something it cannot see. Those invisible hands still push their way through to my brain, letting itself into every aspect of my thoughts, the wishes of the past, the desires present now, and echoes of dreams regarding the future. Then, one by one, the hands begin to retract. They abandon me, letting me slowly regain control of my shaking body. The others too begin to breathe easy, except for one, the person to my left, the traitor himself. I glare at him as his eyes begin to slowly glaze over. His hands are trembling, yet he still tries to reach for his knife. If it was an attempt to end his own life, then he truly is foolish. His convulsing hands drop the knife, placing themselves upon the table. It's too late for him. The prince is already in his mind. He is no longer reading and observing. Rather, he's taking control, forcing the traitor to do what he wants. The traitor's mouth opens to speak, yet no words leave. Then a whisper begins to emanate, a slurred mess of a confession, as if the prince himself is putting his hand down his throat and pulling out the words forcefully. Blood begins to leak from his lips, and when all is said, when every iota of the truth has left his body, he falls onto his chair. His labored breath sounds painful, though not as painful as what he is about to experience. The princess reaches him, and before he can utter another disgraceful sound, she wraps a single hand around his throat. Their eyes meet for a moment, only for him to begin his journey to whatever damp, rotting cell awaits him. She drags him away, his heels slamming against the floor in vain. And when the noises of fear leave the room, the prince speaks. The words that embrace our ears is a clearly spoken whisper that carries itself to the end of the table with grace. You all may leave now. There is nothing else to do here.